This is gonna be my raw thoughts of the Star Wars and Dead by Daylight discussion that's been going on the past couple days, almost to a week. It is currently May 8th, 2026, as to when I'm making this, and I'm just gonna be straight and blunt of what I'm about to say. Darth Vader himself is not a horror character because the franchise he comes from is entirely sci-fi. And I'm not gonna act like, oh, sci-fi can't be scary, because we literally have the alien. Okay? I'm not just talking about his design, because like Darth Vader, both of their designs are intimidating. They have scare factor to them. But the thing of Xenomorph is his movie. I haven't seen the one that came out 2020-ish, but that's horror. That's sci-fi horror, all right. Aliens franchise is sci-fi horror, all right. Which is why I'm not going to completely bash on Alien, like, oh, Alien doesn't fit. Alien quite literally does. Not only they're iconic, just like Darth Vader. The franchise itself is sci-fi horror, okay. Star Wars is not sci-fi horror. It's a sci-fi adventure, all right. A sci-fi action adventure, but I don't want to call it action because it makes it sound like it's a die-hard movie. It's a sci-fi action, a sci-fi adventure that has action. And you can say it's fantasy, but let's just stick with what I said. And if you want to argue that Star Wars is horror because of a book, let me look down here, because I have this discussion with Spook and Jukes on Twitter, which I'll talk about that in a minute. Star Wars Master of Evil, which there's another book he brings up. The Master of Evil is the one I'm familiar with, that he brings up. It's about like the zombies and shit. Or Darth Vader's stormtroopers are being zombies. And there's one he also brings up, Master of, well, crap, not Master of Evil, Hiding from the Dark. Both of these books are canon. He brings up, which that's cool, you know. That just shows that Star Wars itself could depict horror, but it's never going to be horror or known for its horror. You get what I'm saying? Because I bring up, for example, DC Comics. DC Comics itself has infinite universes, so it has like a million stories and a million what ifs. And the one I mentioned is one that's pretty dark and has a horror theme to it. It's the Batman Who Laughs. And there's a series, Dark Knight's The Metal, or Neath Metal, something like that. And long story short, it's literally about the Batman who fights a Joker who has nothing to lose, or Joker going too far, and Batman just beats the absolute shit out of Joker, and he becomes the Batman, and he has Joker-like tendencies, and eventually kill the whole Bat family. Has a whole plan on taking over universes. It sounds cliche as hell, but I promise it's more darker than I just said. He does a lot of mess up stuff to the Justice League. Right, why am I bringing this up and not focusing on the Star Wars? What I just did there was change that subject and not actually sticking with what it truly means for Star Wars itself. That's what I just did to y'all, and that's what he's trying to do here, Spook and Jukes. Just because you bring up something that can be depicted as horror doesn't outright mean the franchise itself will be known for horror. Okay? Because DC, you're not going to say, oh, it's horror. It's not. Okay, there's some times where it depicts horror, but it doesn't mean it's outright horror. And I just want to state, I have no issue with Darth Vader being added to Dead by Daylight. I don't. I don't really care. I just pray it's not The Last of Us for the 10th anniversary. Not because I hate it. I think it's a cool franchise, like it's okay. But it'll be very disappointing if it was a 10th anniversary. Maybe for July as like a Survivor kind of thing or whatever. But as a like big celebration, heck no, dude. It'll be horrible. So yes, I think, or going to back to Matthew Cote said in the interview that chapter or things they added like Tomb Raider and Witcher. That has horror themes, horror adjacent elements. It can be added to the game, which I can't really argue with the man, like what he can and can't add to the game. But I find it a bit hypocritical when there's things like, or not just things, that when the game clearly states in the App Store, you can literally check on your Xbox, PlayStation, PC, Nintendo Switch, if people still play that. It quoted best 1v4 asymmetrical horror game. And given by their past back then, the game goes in order with killer, so you just gotta bear with this. We had Myers, Myers, Bubba, Freddy, and Pig. And you see these killers, they're not. It's not anything crazy, you know. Slashers, it fits the game, right? And then we have Spirit, which is a different horror theme. It's not like the slashers. It's like, okay, Legion, you're not gonna think they're really scary. Then there's the Plague, like she's creepy. Ghostface, Trickster, which people argue Trickster isn't scary because it's just some K-pop guy, which is okay, fair. If we go off his design, he doesn't really look that scary. But without reading his entire lore, he's attention. He craves for the attention. He likes being the center of the spotlight, and he'll do anything to maintain that. But before he starts doing his own things of being the best, like killing his fans, so they'd be a part of his music. Like, that's pretty creepy. I'm just trying to prove there's characters that aren't scary that's in the game. Like, okay, they exist. I don't care about that. Yeah, I think Skull Merchant is just not scary at all. Her design, her lore, not scary. Darth Vader. Yes, he's intimidating. He is scary. He does a lot of horrible shit. But just because a character that's a villain and intimidating does terrible shit doesn't mean they're a horror character. Because if we're going to go by that logic, that as long a character isn't from a horror franchise, entirely sci-fi by the way, Star Wars, no horror element, just entirely sci-fi. I'm going by the movies and shows. I'm not going by the books as canon. That's just fucking 2 books, bro. That doesn't dictate how the franchise is as a whole. It just means it depicts horror. It doesn't mean it is horror. Not the books, but the franchise itself. Alright? Going by that logic, you could just add Vegeta, like I stated. And everything I'm saying right now, like my references, my sources, I'll put them in the description. I stated as an example, like Vegeta, yeah, he'll be cool as fuck to play, but that'd just be weird. Let me just explain, alright? Vegeta, I quoted saying, to Spook and Jukes, dark themes don't make him horror, Spook and Jukes. That's like saying Vegeta should fit in DBD, because 99% of the Saiyans were killed and enslaved by Frieza, was destined to rule as the Prince of all Saiyans, blows up planets and civilizations, killed his right-hand man with no mercy, Nappa, killed and terrorized the Z-Fighters, killed innocent Namekians, Namek Saga, and forced himself to awaken the evil in his heart for power, which endangered Earth, then killed the World Tournament crowd, just to run the ones with Goku. Majin Buu Saga. What I'm trying to say here is that if we're going to go with the logic that a character doesn't necessarily have to be from a horror franchise, but has dark elements or some level of evil and atrocities, they could be in the game, right? Like, it doesn't matter if they're horror, just as long they have dark elements, they could be in the game, right? I mean, yeah, that's what Matthew Kote says, but I'm trying to say here, I guess. Well, okay, I just saw what he just said here. We just established that doesn't strictly be a horror character. Gerald, Lower Crop are not horror characters, as M. Kote said in the clip, but they were added to DBD. Lich is strictly not a horror character either. These are all horror adjacent characters, like Vader. Okay. That's fair. Alright, that's fair. A character doesn't necessarily have to be horror, just as long as they're horror adjacent, like Vader. Then I ask him simply, how... I'm not asking about the qualifications of what gets added, because, like I said, or... that... okay, my fault. I said I'm not talking about the qualifications of what gets added. That's just been established. I said that because I didn't know that. And quoting what he said by the interview. Okay, fine. The principle of what can get added has just been said. But now I'm asking, how does that make Darth Vader a horror character, right? Because, okay, he has dark themes. That's it. Like, okay. But how does that make him a horror character? Because Darth Vader is not a horror character. You could try to argue and debate this for years and years till we're fucking 50. Darth Vader is not a horror character. There could be a day, like he said later on, you know. Let me finish with the whole tweet I said here. I'm not talking about the qualifications of what's added. That's just been established. I'm asking, how does that make Darth Vader a horror character? Lich, from a horror franchise, who is a horror adjacent. I just learned that one, in quotes. Star Wars is entirely sci-fi, not a horror. Okay. And I've been, I guess, going back and forth with people explaining, you know, what I'm saying, because you have zero understanding. Because I know R6 is in the game. Like, I think that's stupid as hell. But it's clearly just for business, collaborations, money. Even though they didn't succeed, it's money. Alright? Like, literally, Ubisoft added Dead by Daylight cosmetics. They added Trapper for Capkin and Huntress for Fenka on the game. So it's clearly money, collaborations. And it's not the first time they collab with Ubisoft. Assassin's Creed Shadows, they added some fucking Oni skins for one of the main characters you play, and something, and Marie skin for the horses in Assassin's Creed Shadows. So it's not the first time Ubisoft and Behavior has collabed. But anyways, let me continue on, right? I've been going back and forth with people. And Spook and Jukes think I was ignoring him, which I don't back down from anybody, regardless of reputation. And I didn't know he was specifically talking to me still, because I thought he ignored me because of an @ message saying, "Oh, my bad, my username is 02818." I didn't know. And like I just mentioned earlier, the Batman Who Laughs. I said, you call him horror because of a novel of them being zombies is the same level as the Batman Who Laughs is horror because it's an edgier version of Batman. If Darth Vader gets added, cool, but he isn't horror. Because he's not horror. I mean, I don't know why I said he isn't horror. Fucking Twitter. Darth Vader could be depicted as horror. Alright, he could be depicted as horror. He could have horror adjacent. He has horror adjacent features that makes him, that fits the criteria I just said. But he was He's not a horror character. You can argue, but he's not a horror character. He's not known as a horror character. Star Wars itself is not horror, is what I'm saying. If he gets added, cool. He'll be horror adjacent, though. He means just all the things Kote just said. He's not a horror character, and he's not from a horror franchise.
Yeah.
He's horror adjacent, okay? I have no problem with him being horror adjacent. I have a problem with people calling him a horror character when he's clearly not. And I'm sorry. I have a problem with people who are calling Darth Vader a horror character when he's clearly not. He's horror adjacent. That's because you bring up two novels that depict him as horror is not the same thing as being known for horror. It's as simple as that. I don't know why this is like a discussion. He's not horror. He's not horror. He's not a horror character. Alright? And he brings up The Master of Evil is a canon horror novel made for adults. And it's about the perspective of Vader. Came out in September. From the perspective of a little girl who imagines Vader as a nightmare / boogeyman figure that haunts her because she's so scared of him existing. Like, okay, you know, that's scary as shit. I'm not gonna lie. But that doesn't outright mean, oh yeah, dude, this book, Darth Vader is my favorite horror character. That just shows he can be horror. But it's not the same thing as being known for horror, which is why I'm going to keep saying he's not a horror character. Star Wars itself is not a horror franchise. You can branch out to different things if they're really trying this hard, but he's not going to be a horror character. Literally, he died within the 4th movie, or I can't remember, The Empire Strikes Back. And damn, he's a good villain, but he's not a horror character. All right. And then I mentioned, like, just trying to understand. Not trying to understand, but I was like, okay, so if we're going to bring up these books, I'm going to say this then. So, if the novel is canon, does that mean the original movies aren't? And then I'm stupid as hell for not reading what he said. So I just said, I'm assuming it takes place in a different universe given what you just told me, but turning something into horror is the same as being known for horror. Because it's not. It's really not. If you're going to mention these books, okay, fine. You could try and argue that Vader can be scary. I never said Vader wasn't scary. I just said Darth Vader isn't a horror character. Okay? And I said, well, let me read the whole thing again because I'm just saying my thoughts. Holy crap. It's my first time doing this, so give me some credit where it's due, guys. My bad. I just love talking. So if the novel is canon, does that mean the original movies aren't? I'm assuming it takes place in a different universe given what you just told me, but turning something into horror isn't the same as being known for horror. Darth Vader isn't a horror character. That's the truth. And I'm not sure if Spookin' Jukes understand what I'm saying or thinks that'll be an easy mark to just try to, like, not bully, but kind of just like, so what you're saying, I'm wrong? Oh, look here, boom, boom, boom. He is horror. What are you talking about? Are you okay, Timmy? What's going on? You have nothing to say? Okay, carry on then. Like, I'm not sure if he thinks that was an easy mark or he just clearly doesn't care because he's been talking to the same people, which it could be. I'm not trying to have a, like, an ego battle over him. I'm just stating my general ideas as I'm saying now. And he says, or I'm just saying what I'm thinking, but that's not what I said here. And then he said after, there's really no point arguing with you. They could make a rated R horror trilogy about him and you'll still say he isn't horror. Not that it matters because he fit in DBD regardless, right alongside the other non-horror horror adjacent characters already in the game. I have no idea, Spookin' Jukes, of what the hell you think I'm saying.
Yeah.
Because I sense a lot of confusion. So I'm just, I guess, restate of what I'm trying to say here. and go on of what I'm saying. I don't care if Darth Vader gets added to the game. Okay? Not knowing what's allowed has not been established by Matthew Cote. That part I understand now. Okay? So he fits, by default, he fits the game. Okay? Even though it used to be about slashers, whatever, fine. Matthew Cote said this fits in the game. In my mind, I find that hypocritical, like I said. Because in the story, it quite literally says best asymmetrical horror game, 1v4. Well, best asymmetrical 1v4 game. Whatever the hell. Alright? Get what I'm saying. Star Wars itself isn't a horror franchise. Darth Vader isn't a horror character. That's what I've been trying to say. Darth Vader is not a horror character. And neither is Star Wars. Just because you bring up books that depicts Darth Vader being a horror is not the same thing being known for horror. And you're going to be confused, scrambling your head, and try to twist what the hell I'm saying. What I mean by that is characters like Myers, Freddy, Bubba, Pig, I guess, Springtrap, I don't know about you. Alien. Ghostface. Screw what I just said about Alien. I guess Alien, why not? Alien are horror characters, okay? These other characters I did not mention. Nemesis, yeah, he has horror elements, but I'd say he's horror adjacent. Okay, I mean, it's kind of hard to say that because the original Resident Evil games are horror, and then later on it's more action. But whatever. Let me stop getting mixed up with what I'm trying to say here. Spook and Jukes. This is directly to you. I'm not trying to say Darth Vader doesn't fit in the game. Going by what Cote says, all these characters in the roster can fit. My main issue is how people keep saying Darth Vader is a horror character because of these two books, and he's clearly not a horror character. He's not. And if he gets added, which I have no problem himself being added, I have a problem that the franchise, Star Wars, which is not horror, would mean that any character that just has similar themes like Vader, dark themes, the atrocities, the tragedies, their dark, intimidating presence, means that anybody can get added, which would just be like the Fortnite version of asymmetrical horror games. I mean, I know it's kind of like that now, like still, like, but it just loses identity of what the hell this game is. It's just gonna be like some Roblox game you could just find. So characters like Genu from K-pop Demon Hunters, or Vegeta from Dragon Ball Z, or a character from My Hero Academia. Like, yeah, there's characters that are dark, but the series isn't horror. It's more like shonen or slice of life, whatever. It has some dark moments, I'm not gonna lie. It's just very out of place to see, honestly. I mean, look at this roster. There's a bunch of characters who don't fit, but like, I'm talking about like, it just becomes fucking too much, to say the least. Like, I can't say the same argument like, oh, it'll just be out of place, bro. Like, do you not see the roster? Okay. It's going to be more out of place, and I'm not going to attack the people who want that shit, because that's what they like. But it just has to be enough is enough. Alright? There's a guy I talked on Twitter. I'm not going to outright say his name, because I don't want him to get into trouble, but I'm sure people who care are just going to look through my posts anyways and see what I'm exactly talking about. But he talked about wanting Gravity Falls into the game. And at first, I thought he meant as a chapter, because if that came out as a chapter, that would be the most stupidest thing I'll ever see. Because, yeah, I do think Bill Cipher is a cool character, but him being in a game like Dead by Daylight is like asking the fucking main villain from Hoodwinked or one of the evil doggies from Paw Patrol just be in this fucking game. Like, what are we talking about? Or Richard Watterson from the Maze World Gumball. Or the Niga Chin from Fairy Odd Parents. And that one ranger from Power Rangers. Like, what the hell are we talking about? Like, the point I'm trying to say with all this random shit I just said, when enough is going to be enough. The game is just not going to be horror. It's just going to be like, oh yeah, dude, any character that could be dark or edgy, like fucking Shadow the Hedgehog, could just be in the game. It's like, what the fuck, bro? It's what the fuck? Because this game was horror. Horror could be subjective, alright? Like, it's slashers. But what the fuck? So, that's what I've been trying to say. And I'm guessing Spook and Jukes is getting confused about that. Or doesn't give a shit. Because I don't think he's used to someone having a completely different point instead of just the same two. Of like, oh yeah, this... Guys. You can either want Vader in the game or don't want Vader in the game. Because I don't think it's fair to say if... Does Star Wars belong in DBD? Because that's not fair to say. Because if we're gonna put have Vader just say over as the overall, then that's fucking stupid. Or that's not a good question. All right, does Star Wars itself belong in Dead by Daylight? No, absolutely not. And it's not like a trick question. Does Star Wars itself belong in Dead by Daylight? No. Does Darth Vader belong in the game? Old DBD? No. Whatever interview that was where Matthew Cote said that? Yes. Absolutely. Is Darth Vader a horror character? No, he is not. Is Star Wars a horror franchise? No, it is absolutely not. I don't mind Darth Vader being in this game, but people, stop treating like he's a horror character. I'm not treating. Stop saying Darth Vader is a horror character. He's not. He's really not. You could bring up all the same points, the same two books, the hallway scene from Rogue One, the many horrific things he's done. That does not make him a horror character. That just means he's a character who's willing to do heinous stuff that most characters wouldn't. Alright? It's not horror. It's not subjective. He's not a horror character. I've been going back and forth with what I'm saying, and it's because I'm not reading from a script. I'm just trying to read the thread of what I just said, / going by my raw thoughts of what I think about this entire thing, and hopefully clarify some things. And if there was at some points you are confused, scrambling your head of what I'm trying to say, I can better describe it in the comments. So that's all I have to say. Thanks for watching. And Spookin' Jukes, Darth Vader is not a horror character. He could say he could depict horror, but just know this: it's not the same thing as being known for horror. That's not right. It won't be the same being known as a horror character. Star Wars itself will never be known for horror. That is all. Thanks for watching. Peace.